You're listening to the morning briefing with Friedman.
Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California. The sun is warming my face this gorgeous morning. You can see the surfers are back there having a lot of fun here as we are sandwiched between Seal Beach and Huntington Beach, California. It is a great day, and there's a lot of sport fishing information to catch you up on up there in the northern sector, Washington, Oregon areas. They're thumping on the albacore up in that neck of the woods. It's been really, really good up there. That's where you got to go if you want to catch albacore right now. We still have bluefin tuna on Tanner Bank and even beyond Tanner Bank. And the wind forecast has been downgraded. It'll be breezy this weekend, but it's not bad. It's going to be just fine. I'm happy to hear that, and that should produce some even better fishing. Great mixed bag fishing south of the border in Ensenada. Great local bass fishing going on. And the surf fishing bite has been really coming on. Tides have been off a little bit, and there's been a lot of wind, but it's all starting to come together. And on the day when Big Fish Bait and Tackle right here on the corner of Seal Beach Boulevard and PCH get a whole bunch of ghost shrimp in, it's a great day to go fishing. Hey, you know what time it is, everybody. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. A sip of this delightful coffee. Oh my God, so good and such a beautiful morning. Hey, don't forget, hit that like button. That means a lot to us. Share these videos if you have a chance. Subscribe to the channel. And also, don't forget to tick that bell. You'll be notified when there's new content. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We've got it all there for you every single day. Once again, it is great to be back with you all. Don't forget also, you can send me a text if you're interested in some raffle tickets for a new Penn Fathom reel. You can send me a text, and also you want our charter list, I'm happy to send that to you. 657-227-6459. Open house, 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro from around 4 in the afternoon until, 9, 10, whatever. We'll go as long as you want to go. Down there, 22nd Street Landing on Saturday evening, okay? Saturday evening. We're moving a bunch of clothes down to our warehouse in La Mirada for our Mexico efforts, and then we're going to drop back and be at the landing Saturday night. Should be a lot of fun. Hey, I had a delightful phone call this morning from a guy named Joe Gomez, who has been fishing since he was a little small boy. He loves fishing more than anything. And he moved to New Mexico because he said to himself, I'm going to raise my kids, and there's a few too many distractions in SoCal, so I'm going to go out to New Mexico. I'm going to sacrifice my love of the sea and the fact that I'm so close to it to bring my family up. Joe, man, his kids turned out so great. It was such a great move. And anyway, Joe was listening to the Danny Cadota show, and Danny was telling stories about giant albacore. Joe had one him very, very self. In November of 1983, fishing with Pink Andy, Joe was on the Pacific Queen. They came all the way up to the Catalina Channel area where those giant albacore were biting. He was only 9 years old. And the water temp, Joe remembers, it was 74 degrees, and those albacore were still biting in it. Those great big ones. Joe ended up with a 76 3/4 pound albacore that he caught on 20-pound Pink Andy line. What an accomplishment. What a feat. It is so great, and it was so nice to talk to Joe, who will be on the Constitution in September on a 2-day trip. And man, Joe, I send you all my thanks. Enjoyed our conversation this morning, and more importantly, I hope you have a great trip in September. I'll be looking forward to some video or some photos from that great trip. All right, let's get into it. Once again, there's albacore up in Washington and surrounding areas. Sean Trowbridge, Bulldog. He's got a boat called the Legend Z with a Z at the end of it. My screw up the other day, and they keep thumping the albacore up there, having really great fishing. It's not available for charter quite yet, as I understand it. I'm going to try to talk to Bulldog a little bit later and get more details on that whole thing. But up there in the northern sector is where you've got to fish. Northern California, Washington, like up there is where there's some really good albacore fishing going on, as you can see. All right, let's bounce across the border, tell you that Ensenada's got that great mixed bag fishing blackfin sport fishing with barracuda, yellowtail, bonita. They can fish the calico bass. There's good rock fishing. There's kelp patty holding yellowtail, Dorado, bluefin, and yellowfin. That's hit and miss. One day you get them, one day you don't. You got to find that lucky kelp for sure, but for the most part, they will provide you with some great action down there out of Ensenada right now. Highly recommend you get down there and experience the people, the culture, the food, and yes, the fishing, which is really, really excellent right now. We'll get you up to the area. Let's talk full day boats, first of all, out of San Diego, all right? Full day boats are boats that leave in the morning, come back that very same evening, and it's that hit and miss kind of fishing. Some guys are creaming them, some guys have a tough day, and that is the scenario right now. Finding that right kelp patty is so important. And by the way, don't go down in the galley and sleep, become part of it all. Find a kelp, keep scouring, and sometimes you'll find one when the crew misses, and you'll be the hero if that thing has a horseshoe on it, because if it bites and you found it, man, there's not a better feeling in this world than that. So finding that right kelp patty is so important, and it's a numbers game. If you find 5 kelp patties in a day, you may strike out. You find 15, your odds go up, 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 up. So keep that in mind. Liberty, 32 guys, 14 on the Dorado. San Diego and the Sea Watch limits on the Dorado. Remember, in Mexican waters, 2 fish per rod, which is where most of these guys are fishing. In U.S. waters, 10 Dorado per rod. Grande, 38 guys, 42 Dorado, 7 on the yellowtail. Overnight boats like the producer fishing in that zone. 17 guys, 10 yellows, 10 Dorado. So there you have an idea of how that bite is. Some guys get them, some guys don't. For the most part, 25 to 30 pound fluorocarbon, a good hot fly line bait is a very good way to get a bite. Some guys like throwing the Daiwa Sakana, like 100 gram, or a Colt Sniper, something like that. Both work really, really well. But live bait, perhaps the best way to get a bite right now. Belly hook bait, in a lot of cases, working well, and a smaller circle hook in most cases is going to work best. Talk to your crew. They were out there the day before. They saw it all. They know what's going on. I like a belly hook bait, but if you're planning on getting bit on the retrieve, and there's a lot of bites that occur that way, in other words, you're winding back slowly and you get bit, then you're nose hooking your bait. And that is something you want to have a conversation, especially if you're new to this game, with your crew members on the way out. And then that morning, you're up before the sun comes up, and you're chatting up the guy that's in the galley trying to wake up, but you're still chatting him up and picking his brain and asking, what should I do? What bait? What rig? All of that stuff. So making friends with the crew, those great crew up and down our Southern California coast with a work ethic second to none. Don't forget those guys. If you can afford it at tip time, take really good care of them because they totally deserve it. All right, other boats that are fishing multi-day, day and a half and above, and this goes for boats from San Diego all the way up to Redondo. Let's put it that way, okay? Man, oh man, there is still some great fishing going on. Tannerbank is one region they're fishing. Some guys are out on Cortez, and even beyond that, there's been bluefin out in that neck of the woods, but perhaps the most consistent area is still Tanner, where the weather's going to come up a little bit this weekend. It's going to be breezy, but it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be any different than our most recent Horizon trip where we got all over the bluefin tuna for limits of fish. In fact, you can watch that video, and I know you're going to love it. It's on YouTube. Check it out. The action was fast and furious. The people on board were great. The Horizon crew, fantastic. We had so much fun on that trip, and we saw a lot of that kind of fishing going on. Alfredo Gutierrez was on board the Tribute, and Alfredo, he talked about his trip, and it sounded a lot like our Horizon trip. 1, 2, 3, 5 fish going for most of the day. Bite shuts off about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it was steady, good fishing. 30-pound fluorocarbon worked really, really well with a small circle hook. Choosing a good hot bait made all the difference in the world. The Tribute crew, according to Alfredo, were absolutely awesome, fantastic. So happy to hear that. So happy to hear that you had a great trip, Alfredo. Once again, weather was up a little bit, and it's going to come up a notch more here in the next 24 hours or so and then persist through the weekend. But nice trip there on the Tribute, and we saw a lot of trips like that. The Apollo will be out with them on September the 8th, departing September the 7th from Seaport Sport Fishing in San Diego. 2-day trip, 18 guys, 71 bluefin tuna 4 Dorado, 3 yellowtail. Most of the BFT, I want to say, are 20 to 40 pounds. You get some bigger fish, you get some smaller fish, as small as 5 pounds. So make sure tackle's so important when you're making a choice. Get a bite on the heaviest line possible. That's what I will say to you right now. If you get bit on the 60, do it in case you hang one of those bigger fish. But sometimes that's just not in the cards, and you're going to have to drop down to 30, 25 even. www.optionusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. Once again, really important to choose a good hot bait as we continue to see that. The ladies were out with a bunch of other ladies. I don't know what I'm trying to say. On board the Searcher, 2.5-day trip, and Wendy and Lori and so many others had just a great time as the ladies put the wood to some bluefin tuna, and they also raved about the Searcher crew, so that is great news. Thunderbird, Amigo, other guys getting in on this bite. Some get them really, really well, some do not. And again, it's kind of a situation where it's day to day. I know that the Horizon trip that we were on, full speed, the next trip they ran, it was very scratchy out there. So it differs from day to day. I don't believe the wind is going to have any ill effects on this bite at all. Now, nighttime fish continue to bite. Also, there's some big ones at night, up to almost 200 pounds in some cases. They're your fish in Spectra, 130 pound, 100 pound, 200 pound leaders. And right now with this wind coming up, I would say a 400-gram jig will do you best of all. So still some excellent fishing going on. Now, that kelp patty situation that we talked about, San Diego-based boats, there's LA Orange County-based boats on that also. It is within range, and it is good if you find that right kelp. I still go back to the Pride trip where the guys got into 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, and they were ecstatic, according to Tony Gonzalez, who works in the ticket office at 22nd Street. I'll see him a little bit later today. I'm going to be working out of the office down there at the studio, getting it ready for the open house on Saturday for you guys. And man, I'll tell you, Tony said these guys got in, and they had 105 yellowtail, 43 yellowfin tuna. I might be off on the numbers a little bit. 50 bluefin tuna, some Dorado to go along with it. They came into the ticket office smiling, so happy, ecstatic, best trip I've ever been on in my life, said a couple of the guys. So it was pretty darn special. Hey, by the way, I was down there at 22nd Street Landing last night. Those guys that came in with the cock-a-doodle-doo at the beginning are on the Freedom right now. I met a bunch of wonderful people. Maui was there. He fished on the Pursuit. I'll give you an update on that in a second at Catalina Island. But I'll tell you, so many lovely people, and they come by the studio to say hi and tell us how much they enjoy watching the content on Friedman Adventures YouTube channel, and means so much to me. Really, really great stuff. All right, let's talk islands. I'm not going to forget the local bite down there at Todos Santos. You saw what's going on off Ensenada. Great mixed bag stuff, occasional yellowtail, a lot of bonita, good calico fishing at times. We get you up to the Coronado Islands. Still a little bit on the slower side, but hopefully it's going to come together. Point Loma yesterday had only one yellowtail. Scott Bucher was decking on there. He says the water's a little bit off right now. It's the water temp, Scott said, is climbing back, and he surmises that once it gets up a little bit higher, that yellow bite will come back on. There's bonita, barracuda, but pretty slow at the Coronado Islands here recently. Out there at San Clemente Island, not much pressure because you got so many other options around there, from kelp patty, Dorado, yellowtail, tuna, to some excellent fishing out on the bank. But the guys that have been there pick a few yellows, good calico bass fishing. Catalina, Maui was on board yesterday on board the Pursuit out of 22nd Street Landing in beautiful San Pedro, California. And I'll tell you right now, really excellent bottom fishing. He hooked one yellow, said the yellows were tough. He was trying to get a bite on 30 pound. And the minute he dropped down to 20 pound, he got bit but couldn't hang on to it. Bigger fish, and that lighter line, he just was unable. But he said it was really great fishing. And Maui caught a bunch of rockfish and even handed some out to those less fortunate than him. He's a great guy. Really good to see you last night, my friend. And I hope to see you again really soon. Really good stuff. Channel Islands, the gray light with great white sea bass fishing. Yes, I had nice sea bass fishing and a bluefin tuna. There's that bluefin that was hiding out. So some really good stuff. There's a little bit of halibut and sea bass up there in the Channel Islands. Great rock fishing out there in that neck of the woods. And hopefully we'll see more and more of that WSB. That stuff's been biting off and on all year long, pretty much. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Santa Barbara, we continue to see some surface bites at times, but just real steady, excellent rock fishing going on up there in that neck of the woods. It has been fantastico down there in San Diego, the local bite. Still some decent calico bass fishing. Remember, bass fishing, drop the mono down, the fluorocarbon down. 12 to 15 pound is what you want to be fishing. If you can't get a bite or it's scratchy, you can fish 20 and get a bite, go for it. But you drop it down, you get that line down to 15, 12 pound, man, you'll be bit all day long. I guarantee you that. So decent bass fishing and great rock fishing continuing down there in that neck of the woods. We move you up Oceanside and Dana Wharf, still some bass, a few halibut there. Offshore, there's some kelps holding yellowtail and Dorado. That also is another alternative available to you. That's looking good. We move you up the coast, and here in the LA Orange County area, still some really good fishing going on. City of Long Beach had a good pick at the bass, not quite limits, but a good pick at the bass. Western Pride yesterday out of Davies Locker, Newport Beach in the morning. Limits of bass in the afternoon, a little bit more challenging. Native Sun, I don't want to leave anybody out. Monte Carlo, both boats out of 22nd Street Landing, focusing on the bass, falling back on the sculpin if they have to, but in most cases, it's just been really good bass fishing. That dropper loop with 15 pound reverse dropper loop, a good hot anchovy on the bottom, and those sand bass have been tearing it up. Really great fishing. Same thing out of Long Beach, sport fishing. There's just really great bass fishing, perhaps the best we've seen in many, many years. That has been a tremendous bite. And up in the Channel Islands, we see some bass up there for Cody Rogers on the Island Spirit, the Californian, and other local boats up there catching some more and more sand bass. I skipped over Marina Del Rey. I'm so sorry, because they've got a sand bass bite going on up in the Santa Monica Bay. Spitfire yesterday with good sand bass fishing. And then they have the rockfish sculpin to fall back on in that neck of the woods also. So nothing wrong with that. On the beach here, we continue to have good barred perch fishing down around Newport, but conditions have not been good. And the high tide a little bit later in the day coincides with the wind, and that's made surf fishing a little bit more difficult. That's going to bounce back. Water temps are back to where they should be almost here. This area is tailor-made here this morning. This Bolsa Chica Surfside, you know, it's perfect for Corvina fishing, light line, 6 pound, a sand crab that you dig up, a sandworm, or go to your surf fishing headquarters down at Big Fish Bait and Tackle in Seal Beach. They've got all kinds of great baits down there. Fish in here in that shallow water. That's where you're going to get a bite. In fact, let me just show you right here. See where that wave is breaking right now? You're going to cast right in front of that, right about, or I should say right behind that right now, because those waves dredge up sand crabs and clams and mussels and all kinds of other stuff, and those fish, all those surf fish, are staging behind there waiting for that, and then they come in and check it out. And your bait's there, you get a bite. You can also sight fish those Corvina. You just see what direction they're headed in, hightail it up in front of them, and present your bait. So those lovely little Corvina will swim right to it and nibble on your bait. Also, some yellowfin croaker, spotfin croaker are biting on the baits as usual. And still, after an incredible halibut year, some halibut hanging out here in this neck of the woods. All right, great times going on. More updates during the day today. Another live show from 22nd Street Landing, where I'll catch you up in the afternoon, let you know how things are going. And also, we'll be at the landing Saturday from, let's say 4 p.m. I hope I'm not screwing this up, because we have to make a delivery of clothing to our warehouse for our Mexico efforts, but 4 until 9, something like that. We'll be there selling raffle tickets for a brand new reel. You want to get in on that, not only because you got a chance to win a reel, but it's a great way for you to contribute to our Mexico efforts. We need to raise money to handle all this running around and Mexican insurance and the shipping to Mexico and the days together when we distribute. And you're welcome to come down and help us out on that. If I should plan a whole thing, let me think about that, see what we can do. All right, great to be with you. Hit that like button, please. Subscribe to the channel, share these videos, tick the bell. You'll be notified. Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Almost screwed that up, as usual. Hey, have a great one. Thanks for watching the Danny Cadota Show live last night. If you didn't, it's archived. Go check it out. Danny, as usual, was fantastico. Have a great day, my friends, and I hope to see you all really, really soon.